just adjourn the meeting and we're waiting for some work around. Start back up, reconvene or whatever. Do we have anyone to confirm the minutes of the 10th of June?
Mr Mayor, I've got a question.
Sure.
We start just in relation to the opening of the council meetings to the general public and to the media or anyone else that wants to be here. Have you got an idea when you'll approve that to happen?
Well, just be on advice. I'm happy to seek advice on when we should be opening that to the public. So I'm happy to request that and get back to council next week. If you're happy with that, Councillor O'Neill?
Well, Mr Mayor, I am, of course. We've got a long agenda before us. If there was a way of seeking that advice this morning, we could potentially have the doors open to this meeting of council.
Well, I'm happy to find out how long it takes to get written advice on that, but as soon as it's available, circulate it. Okay, do we have anyone?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I've got one little typo before it's concerned. Sure. I spoke to Kel before, page 6 of the minutes, it just said I am the committee, but it was my father was on the committee, so just...
Okay, do you want to move the minutes with that change?
Yeah, I'm happy to move that. Right wording, I suppose. I move confirm the minutes from the ordinary meeting on the 10th of June 2020 with that change. Be true and accurate.
Page 6, and it was...
Page 6, yeah, in the bottom, the item was C21.
And what was it meant to say?
That my father is on the committee. Not I, yeah.
Okay. Okay, we have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, do we have anyone to confirm the Budget Standing Committee, the Budget Submissions and Financial Standing Committee meeting of Maranoa Regional Council held on the Administration Centre on the 17th and the 23rd of June 2020. We have a mover for those.
I have an amendment.
Did you want to
Sure.
move with that amendment?
Yes.
For the minutes?
I'll move that the minutes of the Budget Submissions of Financial Planning Standing Meeting minutes, 17th and the 23rd of June 2020, be accepted as true as correct with an amendment to resolution number BUD/06.2020/14, and just request that the item number and subject heading be placed above that resolution, please.
What page is that on?
Page 5.
Page 5. Yep, BUD/06/2020/14.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor O'Neill, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, number 4, declarations of conflict of interest. Start with Councillor Taylor.
I, Councillor, when you get started with the conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 17, 175D and E, with agenda item C11, with the subject heading Hibernian Hall request for fee relief COVID-19. The name of the other person is Jodie Noon. The nature of my relationship with this person is personal friend. The nature of the other person's interest in the matter is owns the dance school that operates out of Hibernian Hall. I will be dealing with this matter by leaving the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. My next conflict of interest, I, Councillor Wendy Taylor, declare that I have a conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E, with agenda item C3, with the subject heading Request to Waive Water Charges Assessment 140300183. I am the Treasurer of the Roman Clay Target Club. So I will be dealing with this matter by leaving the room while the matter is discussed and voted upon.
Okay, thank you. Just heading down this side of the table, we have Councillor Guthrie.
Okay, I, Councillor Julie Guthrie, declare that I have a perceived conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act of 2009, Section 175D and E, for the agenda item 13.6, with the subject heading Noosa Film Academy Maranoa School Tour, because I was an acting principal at Wallumbilla State School until the 3rd of April 2020, and my name is actually listed in the attached email as a school contact person, and this is no longer the case. I have determined that this personal interest is not of sufficient significance, that it will lead me to making a decision on the matter that is contrary to the public interest. I will best perform my responsibility of serving the overall public interest of the whole of the council area by participating in the discussion and voting on the matter. However, I acknowledge that the remaining councillors must now determine, pursuant to Section 175E(4) of the Local Government Act of 2009, whether I have a real conflict of interest in the matter or a perceived conflict of interest in the matter, and if so, whether I must leave the meeting while the matter is being discussed and voted on, or if I may participate in the meeting in relation to the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Okay, thank you. So,
Mr. Mayor, could I just, and I apologise because I was reading my own, Councillor Guthrie, could you just restate what the conflict was? My apologies.
Okay, in the Noosa Film Academy Maranoa School Tour, I was surprised to see my name is actually listed as the email contact for a school that was identified.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
And as I've said, I'm no longer even in that school.
There's actually 2 people listed there as well that aren't even in this current.
No, it's not. That's from my point of view. It's just about being able to identify a perceived conflict of interest and being able to then be part of, should you consider that I have value, in the discussions.
And we might be helpful there as well, just to alert them to that so that they can update their conflict list. Suggestion I can.
so we have someone that would like to move on that perceived conflict.
Read it over there.
Councillor Taylor.
That Councillor Guthrie does not have either a real conflict of interest or a perceived conflict of interest in the matter, and is accordingly free to participate in the meeting while this matter is discussed, including by voting on the matter.
We have a seconder. Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? All those in favour? 8-0. Okay. No others. Then moving down to Councillor McMullen.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I, Councillor Jeff McMullen, declare that I have a perceived conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E, for agenda item C5, with the subject heading Request to Occupy Lot 3 on SP 230317, because I was previously a financial sponsor of the club and my grandchildren still ride at the track. I have determined that this personal interest is not of sufficient significance that it will lead me to making a decision on the matter that is contrary to the public interest. I will best perform my responsibility of serving the overall public interest of the whole of the council area by participating in the discussion and voting on the matter. However, I acknowledge that the remaining councils must now determine, pursuant to Section 175E(4) of the Local Government Act 2009, A, whether I have a real conflict of interest in this matter or a perceived conflict of interest in this matter, and B, if so, whether I must leave the meeting while the matter is discussed or voted on, or I may participate in the meeting in relation to the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Okay. Does anyone wish to move on that? Councillor Hancock.
I move that Councillor McMullen does not have either a real conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest in this matter and is accordingly free to participate in the meeting while this matter is discussed, including by voting on the matter.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, so we're moving around to Councillor O'Neill.
I, Councillor Cameron O'Neill, declare that I have a perceived conflict of interest as defined by the... No, I have a conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E for agenda item C4, with the subject heading Request for Rebate of Water Usage Charges Assessment 14014644134. The conflict relates because I have had previous non-conclusive commercial discussions with the entity which is the subject of the report. This matter is unrelated to today's report and the decision before Council. I have determined that this personal interest is not of sufficient significance that it will lead me to making a decision on the matter that is contrary to the public interest. I will best perform my responsibility of serving the overall public interest of the whole of the council area by participating in the discussion voting on the matter. However, I acknowledge that the remaining councillors must now determine, pursuant to section 175E4 of the Local Government Act 2009, A, whether I have a real conflict of interest in this matter or a perceived conflict of interest in this matter, and B, if so, whether I must leave the meeting while this matter is discussed or voted on, or 2, I may participate in the meeting in relation to the matter, including voting on the matter.
Okay. Do you have anyone to move on that one? Councillor Hancock.
I move that Councillor O'Neill does not have either a real conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest in the matter and is accordingly free to participate in the meeting while this matter is discussed by voting on the matter.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay. Councillor Hancock, do you have anything?
I don't think so.
Very excited.
Okay. Councillor Edwards.
Something. I, Councillor Mark Edwards, declare that I have a received conflict on by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E. Agenda item 13.3, subject heading aimed at Dangy Airport sign request from Santos. Because I'm a member of the Roman Aero Club Incorporated, and whilst I don't own a plane, I remain friends with members of the club. I determined that this personal interest is not of sufficient significance so it will lead me to making a decision on the matter that is contrary to the public interest. I will best perform my responsibility of serving the overall public interest of the whole of the council area by participating in the discussion and voting on the matter. However, I acknowledge that the remaining councillors must now determine, pursuant to section 175E4 of the Local Government Act 2009, A, whether I have a real conflict of interest in this matter or perceived conflict of interest in this matter, and B, so whether I must leave the meeting whilst this matter is discussed or voted on, or 2, I may participate in the meeting in relation to the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Okay, Councillor Burkett.
I move that Councillor Edwards does not have either a real conflict or an interest or perceived conflict of interest in the matter and is accordingly free to participate in the meeting while this matter is discussed, including by voting on the matter.
We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, on the table.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, should we have some special meeting minutes to confirm today from the 17th of June? I think they may have been previously circulated.
Oh, okay. So that's separate to these ones?
Separate to the budget submission.
Right, okay. Has everyone seen those minutes, got those minutes? They were a special meeting minutes.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been included in your original agendas that were circulated because the meeting would have been held post their circulation.
Gotcha. Councillors want a copy of those before we...
No,
Can we get a copy of those? Okay. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting for a minute and we'll get those copies and then we'll get going. Might start up again. Okay, has everyone had a chance to read the special meeting from the 17th of June? Minutes? Would someone like to move on those minutes?
Move that the minutes of the special meeting held on 17th of June 2020 accepted as true and correct.
Do we have a seconder?
That's in being confirmed.
Guthrie. And any opposition? Does anyone want to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Any other conflicts we've come across?
I will mention them now, that'll be to do with the late business, late items.
If you're happy to mention it now, or you...
There you go. I, Councillor Martin, declare that I have a conflict of interest. For agenda item, this is in the late items business paper L1. I'm a member of the Roma Aero Club Incorporated. Whilst I no longer own a plane, I remain friends with members of the club. I will be dealing with this matter by leaving the room on matters discussed and voted upon.
Okay.
Just for a minute, Secretary, L1, Kelly is register of general cost recovery fees and commercial charges effective from 1st of July.
Okay. Do we have anything on the table?
I've got nothing on the table, Mr Mayor, but I'd like to move, or not in the right place, that C10 be taken out of confidential. The public, it's been made public in India, it's been discussed in India. Well, I received a phone call from a resident the other day, and wrote a list about everything off there, and gave me some information. I gave him the names of people that are doing this proposed thing.
You're looking for a seconder to that motion, I'll second it.
Okay. We have a second to Councillor O'Neill. Do you have any comments, CEO? Righto. Any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? Go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, is there anything on the table? Kel?
From any of the previous meetings, Mr. Mayor, because I think there is a couple. I know that in the special meeting there was, but it looks like it's coming, it's part of the agenda. It's the organisational structure.
So nothing we've got there that we know about. We'll move on then.
I will reconfirm, I will recheck those,
Okay.
as is in the confidential agenda.
Right. Okay, then if we move on, then we'll go on to the agenda. Sure. Okay, we'll just adjourn the meeting for a minute. Okay, thank you. Item 11.1, page 52, amendment to local law number 2, animal management, and subordinate local law number 2, animal management, cat registration. I would like to move that Council commence the local law making process to amend local law number 2, animal management 2011, and subordinate local law number 2, animal management 2011, to remove mandatory cat registration. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion? Councillor O'Neill. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Certainly do. This is an important thing that has wide community support. You know, we certainly have many animal issues that can be dealt with in other ways, and I don't believe there's wide community support for this law to be mandatory. This law is still that people can register their cats, but it's not a mandatory law, and the general feeling in the community is that that I get is that this is not needed, will cause issues and not solve the problem. If you want to solve the problem of stray cats, then there's other ways of dealing with that would be far less invasive than a mandatory cat registration. Okay, Councillor O'Neill, do you want to speak against the motion?
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. I strongly speak against this motion, and I'm no expert in this field. I'm not a cat owner, I'm a dog owner. And the feedback that I received from the community is this should be fair and equitable amongst the pet owners that make up the Maranoa. I think this would be a backward step in responsible animal ownership. And I draw councillors' attention to the feedback that we've received from our local vets, who both strongly support the registration of cats. They support it for a myriad of reasons, from being responsible cat owners through to being able to easily identify cats from feral cats, own cats from feral cats, allowing cats to be reunited with their owners more quickly, through to ways that we can mobilise a feral cat program to rid our community of feral cats. I think it is vitally important that both owners of dogs and cats show the responsibility we need to show the responsibility in not removing the CAT registration, the mandatory CAT registration from our local law. If the problem is cost, I would be in favour of another 12 months of no cost for CAT registration to encourage cat owners in our community to register their pets, just as we require dog owners in our community. And so I implore councillors today to not vote in favour of this motion, to keep the mandatory CAT registration as part of our local laws, and to continue to encourage responsible pet ownership across the Maranoa.
Would anyone like to speak for the motion?
I'd like to speak.
Righto, please go
I just
ahead.
wondered if we could have the manager from the community safety to come and give us her opinion.
Yeah, sure. Please, take a seat.
Thank you. I actually, my recommendation is that we do not commence the local law making process during CAT registration. By no means is CAT registration a way of getting on top of our stray cat problem in the Maranoa. It's just one of the multifaceted approaches we need to take as a council in doing that. And equally the disparity that we currently have with dog owners versus cat owners. It's not just feral cats that are causing problems, it's unowned cats and us being unable to identify who owns the cat, to have a meaningful conversation with them, to take enforcement action if necessary, and registration helps us do that. With our cat trapping programs at the moment, it is very hard to identify a stray cat from a domestic cat if it's not registered or microchipped. This problem isn't just Maranoa. I've been doing a lot of research. There's a paper written by the RSPCA in May 2018, which a lot of the information that I made in my recommendations for a cat management strategy came from that paper, is that all councils are having this problem. That back in 2008, many councils opted out of mandatory registration, but now a lot of them are starting to opt back in for this reason. That's just one of those ways of making sure that cats are equally as valued as a pet and a sentient being as a dog, and therefore, the responsibilities of owning a cat or a dog should be the same. So that was one of the reasons. Another reason is that yes, trapping in itself doesn't fix the problem. Education does help with the problem, but to date we really haven't been focusing on that and on responsible animal ownership. It's always been about dogs. And a lot of the other councils all across Australia have the same problem. There are different disparities between state and local laws, what shelters do and all of those sorts of things. So I know in Adelaide at the moment they're trialling many things in relation to managing cats, but cat registration is one thing. And also cat trapping programs is another thing, mandatory dissection is another thing, but they're different items that we can discuss at a different time. But this is just one of those approaches. We did spend a substantial amount of money last year's council in the budget in amending the local lawmaking process as well. And I just think that the cost that it would cost us to implement this process would be better off spent on desexing programs or cat trapping programs or other educational events that we put on owners in Maranoa to improve that responsible ownership of cats. Because at the end of the day, if we had responsible cat ownership, we would have stray cats.
How much is it to register a cat?
At the moment, it's $10 if it's not desexed and $5 if it is, and cheaper still if you're a pensioner. It's very, very, very small. And that's because of the 50% off that we've got of registration. So, and even at full price, it would be 20, but that's something we can look at next year's fees and charges. Also too, when it wasn't mandatory, we had single figure digits of owners registering their cats in the Maranoa. When it became mandatory and we offered free registration, we went from 8 registered cats to 202. And already 125 people have paid their cat registration since the issue of notices on the 1st of June. So that's very encouraging.
Through you, Mr Mayor, could I ask officer? I think you might have just answered, but the free registration period's up, is it?
Yes, that's up for last year. It covered us to the last registration period, so we're now in next year's registration period.
Any questions? I've got one question. With the our previous policy, what was the difference when someone had their cat microchipped or we had trap the cat, we found it wasn't microchip. What was the council policy in previous times about that?
The policy hasn't changed from when we track a cat now, that with registration, it's just if the cat was registered, it was easier to contact the owners if you had their details in the system. With microchipping, sometimes owners don't always keep their microchip details up to date, so that did cause a problem. But we still always, when we trap a cat, scan it for a microchip if it's able to be handled. We've got special equipment to help us do that. So we check it for a microchip if it's got a collar and a registration tag, then we'll use that. Some cats don't have collars, that's true, but if they are registered in our system and the microchip details are in the system, we can search in our council systems and find the contact details from the registration.
So do some councils use microchipping as a way to identify cats and encourage people to microchip the cats?
It's actually not encouraging, it's actually state law, with respect, Mr. Mayor. So it's been state legislation since 2008 that all cats and dogs over 12 weeks of age must be microchipped. So microchipping, the legislation has been in since 2008. And you know, there has been a bit of a lack of uptake in that, but it's hard for us to tell because we don't force people, we're not forced, we don't encourage people to come forward and register their cats with us, so we have no visibility of how many owned or unowned cats are out there in the Maranoa. And this would be a really good way for us to find out how many cats do we have out there, how many owned cats do we have out there in the Maranoa. And that will also help us with things like disaster management situations too, knowing how many domestic animals we might have to look after in a disaster management situation.
Any other questions, councillors? Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Well, I'll just sum up. I believe that this has got wide community support. I do believe that our officers should have the opportunity to have the most enjoyable day at work, doing the important work they do in protecting the community. And this is not an historical thing that council has had. As we've heard, microchipping is state law and is what we should be, I believe, encouraging to happen, which can identify the cat. The numbers that you've heard about was with free registration of the cat. And I believe our officers have more important things doing with trying to get on top of dog attacks and other issues in community safety than be putting an extra burden on the community for no benefit. Not having your cat registered, I believe, doesn't mean that you are not a good pet owner. It just means that there's an extra level of bureaucracy that goes to register cats. So that's why I'm supporting repealing this, because it has no historical history in the Maranoa, and I believe it is taking time that we should be looking at trapping cats, getting on top of stray cats or unowned cats. And I've also been a very strong believer, and since I've been in council, increasing the amount of council effort to get on top of stray cats. And that is something that I have brought up, I believe, at every budget to get on top of this. So there's other ways than forcing a fee onto residents of the Maranoa. Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Lost 3-6 if I can call for a division. We have someone to move a motion.
Well, yeah, I think that's academic now, but I'll do it. I'll move that council do not commence the local law making process to amend local law number 2, Animal Management 2011, and subordinate local law number 2, Animal Management 2011, to remove mandatory cat registration.
We have a second to Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? I'll speak in opposition. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just think this is the right decision to support the chief advisors that we have employed by council the advice that has been put forward and feedback by our two veterinarian businesses in town that indicate that this is the right step forward, and it is an illustration to the community that we're taking animal management seriously. Whether you're a dog owner, a cat owner, or a dog and cat owner, you are treated equally, and I hope that this is a further measure. It's already been articulated to see a reduction in feral cats, stray cats in our community, and I am urging Council to support that we do not commence the removal of mandatory cat registration.
Would anyone like to speak against the motion? I'll certainly speak against the motion. This, I believe, is a disappointing step in Council bringing a local law, or continuing a local law that doesn't have community support and doesn't actually fix any problem. All it does is put a cost on ratepayers with no benefit. The stray cats, the cats that are out there that have no owners, will not be registered, and they will not be paid by paying registration fees, as we have seen the impact that would be if we had a major program of dealing with feral cats or unowned cats. And to me, this is disappointing for the people of the Maranoa. Would anyone want to speak for the motion? Okay, does the mover wish to sum up?
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I draw councillors' attention to page 55 in terms of the cat registrations, when in 2017-18 we had 6, in 2018-19 we had 9, and in the 19-20 year up until the 31st of May 2020 we had 208 cat registrations. I think that is an indication that there is support by cat owners, that they're taking the responsibility that we are encouraging them to do, the dog owners are doing, and they're showing that with their feet by walking into this council chamber and registering their cats.
Okay, we'll go to the vote on this one. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Item 11.2, investment register as at the 31st of May 2020. We have a mover.
Mr Mayor,
Councillor Hancock.
I'll move that the investment report as at 31st of May 2020 be received and noted.
We have a seconder. Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 11.3, financial report for the month of May 2020. Councillor Burkett.
I move that the monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of May 2020 be received and noted.
We have a seconder. Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 11.4, Revenue Policy 2020-2021. We have a mover. A question CEO, with this one, is there any flexibility that council can make any differences to this, or it's pretty standard? Oh, no, I just wonder whether individual councils have any, there's not really much flexibility in here.
All councils' revenue policies will be available on their websites. Council wanted to peruse others, certainly an option. It has been fairly standard across the years.
Okay, do we have a mover? Councillor Edwards.
I'll move that the council, number one, receive a notice document titled Revenue Policy 2020-21. And two, in accordance with section 193 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, adopt the 2020-21 revenue policy.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, if you were to look at other councils, there's not a template, if that is the question that you're asking. It is quite, just turning to the director as well, it's fairly individualised, you think? Director? Yes, I'll agree with that. Yeah. So it's not something that's been published by the department or other, and councillors are at any stage do feel free to peruse other websites if you're interested in that.
Okay, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Growing Tourism Infrastructure GTI Fund 2021. We have a mover.
Mr. Mayor, can I suggest that we lay this one on the table until we have the deliberations for later? This seems to be counterproductive to discuss this without having discussed the other matter.
That's a really good idea, Councillor.
Okay, we'll go to the vote on that. All those in favour? 9-0.
True, Mr. Mayor, that was later today.
Yeah.
Later in the meeting.
That's what I think the councillor said. Item 13.2, QGAP Lead Agency Agreement 2020-2021 for Surat and Inju. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council 1 endorse the continuation of the lead agency agreement with Smart Service Queensland for 2020-2021 and to authorise the CEO to sign the agreement.
We have a seconder. Councillor Hancock. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 13.3, Manandangi Airport sign request from Santos. Councillor McMullen.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council provide in-principle support to Santos to construct the sign in the arrival hall of the Rome Airport, subject to council approving final artwork.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to move a procedural motion that this matter lays on the table until the next ordinary meeting of council, where the final artwork should be provided.
Okay, well, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Question on it. Couldn't they go ahead and do the artwork without us giving them in-principle support?
Well, if I can, my point is we can't give in-principle support to something we haven't seen.
think we've done that a few times,
subject to council approving.
done that a lot of times.
Will they go and do artwork if we're not going to give them the support to put it in?
I don't know.
Anyway, let's do the vote. All those in favour of laying it on the table until next meeting for final artwork, all those in favour? All those against? Carried 6-3 if I can call for a division. Item 13.4, page 185, removal of outdoor fitness equipment. Councillor O'Neill.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 approve use of unspent budget from GL2 888.2253.2201 Australia operational to install the equipment and softball at an estimated cost of $6,000 excluding GST.
Just got a question. Is this the piece of equipment that people that were using it is the most requested piece of exercise equipment that was removed?
Money there.
Yeah, but Mr Mayor, it says in here, a small number of aged residents have requested reinstallation of the outdoor equipment, in particular the butterfly chest presser.
Yeah.
Most asked for there, so I'm happy to move. Second, sorry, Mr Mayor.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Righto. Any opposition to the motion? Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
Just to share, Mr Mayor, that I think this is a valuable addition to the exercise equipment that you can find, public exercise equipment that you can find in our community, and I must congratulate the residents that have kept this on the agenda because it's important to them, and I'm pleased that it's before us today to make a decision to reinstall the equipment that was regularly used by residents of Roma.
Can I just ask a question? So last year in August, why you're saying that it was old? Have they done some servicing on it, or was it still the same?
It's in the
It was.
report. They have.
Sorry, that have
So
fixed it
they've
up.
replaced it. They're replacing it.
What could we hear from Deputy CEO?
This is the third report on this one, councillors. So when they had that playground equipment up there near where the dog park is, when they did the dog park, they removed that equipment. It was probably about 6 or 7 years old at the time, so they didn't actually reinstall them. They reinstalled it further down the Gunnery Walk. But when they did remove it, via councillors, we asked for a report because there's fairly complaints about it. The equipment there slightly hit the stuff further down, so there was probably a couple of users that actually found that one. They were using it there. There was a bench press one with the other things there, so we're asked to reinstall it. And asked to bring a report back. I had a look at it with Conrad. Some of the equipment when they removed it, it was just, you couldn't put it back in. The one in particular that this particular resident really wanted to install, it could have been installed with a bit of work, but it was 7 or 8 years old at the time. We had to do some welding, but one of the foot pad broken on it. And it's all that die cast stuff as well too. So we said to the council, we have got some budget allocation there if we want to install something similar, and the instruction from the council was it's got to be something that's actually, can't get exactly the same. Can we get something that does the same range of motion for this particular gentleman? So we identified this one. We couldn't put it straight back in where the dog park was. Obviously, we had to try and get as close as we could. And the other thing, since the other ones, there was no softball under them. The regulators there, contact from Parks and Gardens said that you did have to put softball under them. So basically, it's close to where it was, and it's similar type of piece of machinery to what it was. But that's the background on this matter. So the third time it's come back, but initially was the report was, can we put back what we took out? We brought that report back and said, no, look, it's old, but we'd be better off. And then they said, well, can you find something that's similar, which we did, and then can we get it close to where it was before?
Okay, thank you. Yep, thank you. So we have a mover and a seconder. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
I have.
I think you have. Anyone else wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. .5, 2020-2021, get ready, Queensland funding available. We have a mover. Yep, let's go ahead, Councillor Hancock.
I move that council accept the allocation of $11,640 from the Queensland Government under the 2020-2021 Get Ready Queensland program. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign the sub-agreement. And 3, submit the completed plan of activities by 26th of June 2020.
We have a seconder. Ladbrook, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Just a question for the officer, is that okay?
Sure.
Hi, Deb. Have we got a plan or?
The plan at this stage, COVID-19 restrictions, is later in the year. Sorry, I'll start back first. Initially, we did the Get Ready Week, which is 17 October, that sort of week. We generally just do advertising in the media. There's no real activity that week. Plan is later on in the year, when it's warmer, is to have a family fun day, activities, slides, rides, jumping castle, just to get the community together. Have some displays from emergency services, our packs that we've had in previous years. Yeah. So it all depends on the COVID restrictions.
Yeah. So a bit of an education and relationship building.
Yes, yeah, and my idea is to possibly start it this year at Mitchell and tie it in at the back end of the triathlon that they hold, and I think it's a Sunday, so we keep that crowd there for the holiday. And it's yet
So just from the new council, there is recurrent funding. We get it every year. Get ready. We've tried a few different things in the past. In the past, with these satchels there with all the emergency numbers on it, you keep your passports, all the important documents in it. That way, if you have a fire or a flood, you can grab your satchel, your insurance, all the important papers there to get out of the house. But it's also, we've done that in previous years. They're the satchels Jim was talking about. But every year we get funding. It's traditionally helping people get ready and making them aware.
Yeah, that's the focus of this.
Okay. Right, so we had a mover. Do we have a seconder for that one? Councillor Edwards, I think. Ladbrook. And do we have anyone else who wishes to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 13.6, Noosa Film Academy Maranoa School Tour. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I move that Council 1 accept the proposal from Noosa Film Academy to provide the Roma Cultural Centre as in-kind sponsorship to host the community screening. 3, the cost of $11,000 including GST to be allocated in the 2020-2021 budget, work order 028885.2304, Arts and Culture Operations, Arts and Culture Projects. 4, authorise CEO Julia Rotano to sign the agreement with Noosa Film Academy on behalf of Maranoa Regional Council. Oh, okay.
Authorise the CEO.
Is the position that's on.
Righto. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Mr Mayor, if everything goes ahead after COVID-19, it'd probably be a good initiative to get some of these arts things back on the move again.
Sure.
Yeah, just a couple of things for you. So I wrote that report, a good part of it, and I misconstrued some of the literature that the people quoted, and I read Year 12 in there, and I thought it related only to Year 12, but could clarify that now. It's all school students from all schools.
So sorry, did you say, it says Year 12s
Yes,
here,
I know.
these schools, some of them don't have Year 12.
That's right.
That's right, Councillor Taylor, it says that's there in the report, it's actually it's from Year 7 upwards, so in all schools.
One of my questions.
Yeah, that's incorrect. It does say Year 12 students only, and that's not the case. It's Year 7 and up. So it will.
So, and also too, through you, Mr. Mayor, I feel as though I should say something about this has been through the RADF committee, and in respect to them, I feel I need to just say this. We started this inquiry came in through our local development team some 7 months ago, and was contributed as an ideal strategic initiative under the RADF stream. Subsequent to that, over the months, we've lost staff and all sorts of things have changed hands, and eventually went to the committee. And I believe the committee's opinion was that, well, this should be funded by the schools if they want to run it, rather than council running it. The fact that we retained the council, and that's why it's here today, council thinks it should be considered by council. And we started that, I guess. In us doing that, we provided energy behind this proposal as council staff. So we kind of put you in a position there, I guess. However, I think I needed to say that in respect to the RADF.
So can I just confirm, Ed, that this is your recommendation of the officer then?
That's correct.
So this is your...
Well, Kim. That's correct. This is your recommendation.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
There's scope with these projects. You can have a film crew come and teach kids how to do something. If we have a follow-on project, and I don't know what that is yet, but when I get a team together, try to scope some kind of project that comes out of this, so they teach them how to do film and all of those things. There's scope there to actually employ those skills locally and reinforce those skills. So there's something more that could come of this, and that's what I'm heralding. I think this would be an excellent foundation project, and then we might try and build a project that falls out of that, whether that be producing local films about local things that we could use ourselves for our own purposes, or a competition of some kind, just to stimulate those students to use those skills that they've imparted and further provide energy toward their career aspirations would be what I describe as development.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Did they actually approach the schools to see if they would fund themselves?
Yes. Oh, no.
They didn't?
No. Not to fund them. And look, given the complexities within the Department of Education, and there's so many schools and so many principals control their own
Do you
budgets.
think they would have some money in their budget, so allocated for this?
Well, perhaps Councillor told.
Can I make a comment through the Mayor? I have a number of different questions that I have here, one of which is that REAP funding would be more appropriate to access the funding through that cluster funding that's available for schools to access, and as long as there's 2 schools involved, they can access community funding. This would fall very clearly under the scope of their agreement. I'd also query the consultation that's happened with schools to date, and whether or not schools are in agreement with this. So it's a worthy initiative, but is there confirmation that all of the schools wish to be involved and be consulted? And the other thing that I'd also raise is it may be worthwhile contacting the schools again, if they've been contacted in the past, to reassess their priorities under COVID-19, because I know that they are working very, very hard, because there's been many, many weeks of lost learning time, and there's a lot of things that are even Education Queensland is putting on hold, like school opinion surveys, etc., because of the limited amount of time to get through a large amount of important, urgent, necessary. This one here might fall into this would be a good one if we could, but at the moment it's not on their priority list maybe.
Just also, probably wouldn't hurt to go back to them too, because like St Patrick's School's got a new principal.
Well, Zoe hasn't been there, but what the principal listed there hasn't been there for
this year, yeah, so they've got a new
a long
principal
period of time.
started this year. Wallumbill's got a new principal, St John's has got a new principal. I think it's a great idea, but I just think we might have to, like Councillor Guthrie said, just to follow up, because might be a few changes as well as COVID.
Well, especially when they had Julie's name on it and she's not there, so they're saying that they contacted.
And I wasn't, and the dates given here are early January,
March.
which means that we were on school holidays, so that even if they followed up after we returned to school, end of January, February, all I can say is I was not contacted as one of the people listed.
Mr Mayor, through you, the $11,000 is a lot of money, and I too think it's a worthwhile project, but I'm just wondering, is that a fair percentage of the arts and culture overall budget? I was just wondering.
Yes, it's a good deal.
So that's going to be $11,000 that we're going to take out of next year's budget, and that's a fair percentage of that whole budget for arts and culture around the region. And it's, I guess, for me, it's on a specific area rather than a whole community. So that concerns me. And I guess just backing up what the officer said with the RIDF, both Councillor Taylor and I were there, we did feel that this probably did sit in more Education Queensland space than it did in the RIDF space.
So I've got a question. Does it have to be decided today, or could we get more information and still be on a time frame, or are we right at the end of the decision making?
Well, we need some 3 years there. We need some ground rubber, if that's what you wanted. I can't answer the question on their behalf. However, we'll use the next couple of days to get those questions.
I've got a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is not our project. Someone's written to us to fund the project. I'd like the people that have approached us to go back to the schools to test the water again, as Councillor Guthrie said, but also to see whether there's a partnership opportunity here rather than wholly coming to council to fund this on behalf of the schools. So I just wonder if it just should be parked all together, and quite a mountain of work needs to happen some by us, but a lot by the people that are pitching this as a commercial venture into the schools, and not devaluing what they put forward. I think it's important, but how much is our responsibility to follow up compared to the commercial entity following up?
Because you would feel that the schools would be asking us.
For support, yeah.
Yeah, the request has come from a commercial venture, not from not from the community.
So they are naive on the fact that reef's available, or they haven't asked the question.
And I'd have to say through the Mayor that if this went to REAP, it would get funding, because one of the requirements is to have 2 schools in the cluster with an initiative. There is a requirement that they will co-fund, so most schools will give a certain amount of money, or PNC will give a certain amount of money, but it's a pretty good program that would have been almost automatically funded.
Mr Mayor, can I move a procedural motion that this lays on the table to later in the meeting to allow potentially an appropriate set of words be formulated for a resolution?
Okay, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
And that'll be people that are expert in that field to come up with a set of words. Councillor Guthrie.
I'm happy to.
Righto, item 13.7, development application, material change of use, indoor sport and recreation snap fitness. I would like to move that this item be dealt with in L2 in the late agenda, as more information has come in about this matter. Okay, we have a seconder. So laying on the table, one need a second. Oh no, I think we should move to put it in the trial methods page. So we do need a second to Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Mayor, can I suggest that we move one in the other, we move the other over? C10 is now open again. Open item.
C10.
Councillor McMullen, any urgency or now might be a good time for a quick 5-minute break?
Oh, that's, yeah, I just thought while we're in open before we go into close, that was it.
I mean, we've got to hit till the start anyway.
Yeah, no, I just thought before we go into close, that's fine.
So is it going to be a long one, or we could just do
I would not do it.
what page is it? 87. C10, in-June caravan park, amendments to fees and charges and other temporary arrangements. Do we have a mover?
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council temporarily operate the In-June caravan park from the In-June Visitor Information Centre while the new management arrangement is finalised. 2, amend the 2019-20 fees and charges register to reflect the following additional information. A powered site $30 GST inclusive per site per night. B, unpowered site $25 GST inclusive per site per night. And 3, temporarily make the on-site cabins unavailable for hire until the new management arrangements are finalised and instead encourage visitors to use the commercial accommodation providers in the area.
We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in no? Well, we haven't voted yet. Please go ahead.
Well, I just think I think it's a bit dear. Just knowing what I know from the gun club, I would have thought the tariffs, I would have said 25 or 20, or I don't know, is that what it's always been?
But through you, Mr Mayor, I'm assuming, I'll stand correcting, if we go that low, we'll be in competition with other providers in town, so we have to keep in line with the other providers.
Okay, we're just about to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, we'll just adjourn to something brief. Keep going. Now, do we have someone to move to go into close?
I'll move we go into the meeting.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burke. All those in favour? 9-0. LC1, Disaster Recovery Fund arrangements with reconstruction of essential public assets project funding agreement.
Was the first one,
LC.
LC1.
thank you.
Okay, do we have a mover?
Yeah, I'm happy to move.
Councillor Guthrie.
I'm happy to move that the council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign the project funding agreement for the Queensland Reconstruction Program Project MARC 0005.1819J 20.4.REC for reconstruction of essential public assets, Southern Queensland Upper Level Trough, 22 to 25th of April 2019, Event 11 roads damage. Number 2, also to sign any future project funding agreements to be formed in accordance with the disaster recovery funding arrangements head of agreement entered into between the Queensland Reconstruction Authority and the Maranoa Regional Council on the 31st of July 2018 as required.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen, any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No.
Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. LC2, Bigger Big Rig and Tree Walk Project Update. I'd like to move that we lay this on the table for the last item on the agenda to receive further information. All those in favour? 9-0. LC3 organisational structure proposed amendment. I would like to move that Council authorise the CEO and the Executive team to complete changes to the organisational structure based on the Mayor's strategic view of staff delivering locally or staff delivering regionally and incorporating extra 5 positions, and also the model to include no compulsory retrenchment, and for this model to come back to Council for decision at the special meeting on Wednesday, the 1st of June. July, sorry. And if approved, consultation then will be started with employee groups. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition?
Just a question, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
And without seeing it in front of us, but
I think that's different to what might have been originally proposed.
just about the consultation.
Yes.
If yours is approved, or if
anyone is,
one that we've
yes,
been able to negotiate
I'm happy to put that in.
is approved, is
Yes.
just.
Yeah.
Can we just very slowly, just line by line, provide that resolution again? So the
Sure.
Secretary can.
Did you want my typed up version? Or read it out?
If you could read that out, and then I'll
Sure.
that as well.
That Council, I move that Council authorise the CEO and Executive team to complete changes to the organisational structure based on the Mayor's strategic view of staff delivering locally or staff delivering regionally, and incorporating.
Is that
Sorry.
both those things?
So that's locally and regionally.
Or
locally.
Sorry, it's regional.
Yeah.
Up to locally.
Yeah, sure. Delivering, the staff delivering locally or staff delivering regionally. And incorporating the extra 5 positions and also the model to include no compulsory retrenchments and for this model to come back to Council for decision at the next meeting, the Wednesday, the 1st of July.
So we currently don't have a next meeting.
No, we haven't, but obviously.
But perhaps we could put at a special meeting.
At a special meeting.
Or do you mean at a future meeting?
Well, what do you think?
Future meeting.
Future meeting.
Future meeting. At a future meeting, so we get rid of 1st of July.
As opposed to a council.
And well, and whatever model is approved, consultation will be then started with employee groups. Should we say before a decision? Before a decision has been made.
I was just wondering if we should change the word decision to consider, Mr.
Consider,
Mayor.
yeah, that's good.
Because we could consider it with,
Yep.
with other proposals. Oh, sorry, Cal, up in the next line, it's back to council for decision, it could be, I'm not putting words in
Yeah,
your
no,
mouth.
that's good, I'm happy with that.
Mr. Mayor.
Further
Yeah.
consideration.
For further consideration.
And then in your next sentence, you'll need to for possible adoption, so you've gone from consultation, consideration,
Right, I'm happy with that.
procedural process.
We can't have the word approved there.
No.
Adopted.
No, because the
Endorsed.
consultation needs to happen before
Selected,
any
Selected.
decision is made.
selected.
We'll just stop at the meeting.
Yeah,
That would be far better.
Right, I'm happy with that.
and then the next meeting we could move forward.
So just 2 points of clarification, Mr. Mayor. The first sentence says to complete changes to the organisational structure.
Model.
I'm not sure that's
model?
what you mean.
Yeah.
No, probably to do a model up or something.
Draft.
Draft, yeah, that's good. Draft changes.
And did you want to clarify what the extra line is? Or?
I didn't really want to say that at the moment. So, yeah, incorporating extra 5 positions, so the model to include no compulsory retrenchments, and this model will come back to council for further consideration at the future meeting. Yeah, I'm happy with that. You happy with, you don't need anything else in it? Okay,
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, did you want to provide any guidance to us in doing that?
yeah, I'd like to, yeah.
And prior to that occurring, the Mayor provide an indication of what comprises delivering locally and delivering regionally.
Likely under the
Model or draft.
Under the draft, and which will which functions will be delivered regionally.
Yes. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? So, Councillor Edwards. Okay, any opposition to the motion? Does anyone want to speak to the motion? I'll speak to the motion. This is obviously part of a new council having a look at how business runs in the Maranoa. And I believe this is an exciting opportunity for council to consider. And I'll be very happy to inform this draft to make this happen. Councillor O'Neill, do you want to speak against the motion?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm mindful that the sensitive nature of this particular topic, I'm mindful that the discussions to date have all occurred in committee. But what I'm not supportive of is the singling out of one individual elected representative to have their vision professionalised by the staff. I do applaud you for bringing forward an option for us to consider. That's been considered. There's been extensive conversations, discussions, alternative perspectives, and I think the best outcome that we can have in terms of any decision that occurs around this table is a negotiation where we flex, we move, we mould, we accept alternative perspectives, we listen to our colleagues, we listen to our staff, who ultimately have to implement anything that council decides, and I just do not support the resources of this organisation working on one individual's particular view on what the organisational structure should be. I think we've got steps in place for all of council's views to be considered, and therefore I do not support this resolution.
Does anyone?
I might just also want to change which functions may be delivered regionally, because we're not locking anything in at this point. It's just may at the last sentence. And the same at the first, what may comprise delivering locally under the draft, which one may comprise. Perfect.
Okay, Councillor, would you happy with those couple of mays? In the second
What
part,
about again?
indication of what may comprise delivering. So it's may, M-A-Y has been put in there.
Can't see it.
It's just
You've hidden it. Personal document.
You happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 7-2 if I can call for a division. Okay, thank you. Okay, Deputy Mayor, would you mind taking over? I've just got a meeting.
Righto, LC4. Telstra Business Services Agreement pricing update. Do I have a move? Councillor Guthrie.
I move that the council, pursuant to section 234 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, enter into a 36-month Telstra Business Service Agreement contract, LGA arrangement NPN 1.18 through Local Buy Proprietary Limited. I also move that the council authorise the CEO to sign the order for service letter to access to the 3-year pricing arrangement offered in the contract for the supply of telecommunication services, LGA arrangement NPN 1.18.
Councillor Taylor.
Seconded.
Seconded. Mr. Mover, wish to speak to the motion?
No, I would just like to say that it would be in our interest to make sure that we've got connectivity occurring for the next 3 years.
Anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Okay, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
8-0.
Oh, 8-0.
You're going to see one.
I guess that's for your pen. C1, application to a regional arts development funding RADF program. Do I have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Council endorse the RADF Committee's grant assessment recommendations for applications received under round 1, 2019-20.
Is there any opposition to the motion?
Second.
Seconder first, sorry. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hancock. Is there any opposition to the motion? Anyone does the mover want to speak to the motion? Anyone want to speak?
Just to acknowledge that the RADF funding provides community organisations a great opportunity to invest more money back into the community with these wonderful projects that they're going to be delivering throughout our community.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, let's put it to vote. All those in favour? 8-0. LC2, write-off of natural gas billing accounts. Do I have a mover? Councillor Berg.
I move that council approve the write-off of natural gas accounts debts as presented owing to the current status of being irreceivable and uneconomical to pursue further recovery action.
Recoverable.
What does that? Unrecoverable. Irrecoverable. Oh, I said that one.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, it doesn't.
Anyone else want to speak for or against the motion? I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, C3, sorry. Request to waive water charges assessment 140300183. Do I have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I move the council not waive or grant a concession of the water usage charges.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hancock. Does the move? Any opposition to the motion? Mover wish to speak to the motion? Anyone else want to speak? I'll put it to the vote then, thanks. All those in favour? 7-0. C4, request for rebate of water usage charges, assessment 1401461. Do I have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the council not subsidise or rebate the water usage charges.
Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Guthrie. Do I have any opposition to the motion? Mover wish to speak to the motion?
I do not.
Anyone else wish to speak? I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? 8-0. C5, request to occupy lot 3 on SP 230317. Do I have a mover? Councillor O'Neill? Councillor O'Neill?
Yes, you I don't mind either way, I just was offering a mover. I'm happy to go. I'll move that.
That's all we decide.
Oh.
Can't remember that. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'll move that council receive and note the correspondence from the applicant and 2, call for expressions of interest in the lease of Kimberley Road, Roma, described as Lot 3 on SP 230317.
We have a second. Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to the motion? Move wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? 8-0. C6, Eris Active COVID-19 cleaning product. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
I move that council receive and note the officer's report as presented.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Any opposition to the motion?
That's the second part.
Be happy to amend
Okay.
that I move that council 1 receive and note the officer's report as presented. 2, provide a copy of the report to the local disaster management group.
So you're happy with that?
Yes.
There's no opposition. Does anyone want to speak for or against the motion?
Yes.
I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? 8-0. C7, request for reduction in trading terms. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the council approve the request to reduction in trading terms from 28 days to 14 days for any invoices submitted by creditor 15375.
Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition to the motion? Mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against? I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? 8-0. C8, registered trademark renewal.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'll move that this lays on the table to the next ordinary meeting of council until we receive the information from the relevant member of staff.
Okay, procedures are all those in favour? 8-0. C9, request for fee waiver from Queensland Symphony Orchestra. Do I have them?
Councillor Taylor.
What? That's not this one.
We're on C9.
Oh, sorry, I just saw the sorry. Panic.
You just don't want me in the room.
No, I'm trying to get rid of it.
Okay, do we have a mover, please? Councillor Guthrie.
I'm happy to move that the council charge the set-up and audiovisual fees for the Queensland Symphony Orchestra to hold a community concert in the Roma Cultural Centre on the 1st of September, which is estimated to be $297.50 to the in-kind minor budget, GL 2887.2246.2001, and also to request that the Queensland Symphony Orchestra to include an acknowledgement of the Maranoa Regional Council in their promotional material, as well as the approval being subject to further COVID-19 advice at that time.
I have a second, please. Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion? Move wish to speak to the motion? Anyone else to speak for or against? I'll put it to vote then. All those in favour? 8-0. C11. Hibernian Hall to request fee relief COVID-19. Do I have a mover, please?
Page 91. We've done that.
Councillor Edwards.
The council, one, provide dance, West 03, a 50% waiver of higher fees payable under their Hibernian user agreement, backdated 23rd of March 2020 for a period of 6 months. 2, provide lots on gymnastic, 50% waiver of higher fees payable under their Hibernian Hall user agreement, backdated 23rd of March 2020 for a period of 6 months. 3, review the fee waivers again in 3 months' time.
Councillor Burkett, second.
Yep.
Councillor Burkett, second. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Any opposition to the motion? Anyone want to speak for or against? Put it to the vote then. 7-0.
Yeah, there's late open. We've got that one thing to go back to. Two.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that's in the open.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
L1. L1. Is that J? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
Are we doing the late items next?
L1, I think.
L1, for that.
That's you, Mark.
Oh, yeah. L1, Register of General Cost Recovery Fees and Commercial Charges effective from the 1st of July 2020. Do I have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council 1 receive and note the report. 2, adopt the fees in the Register of General Cost Recovery Fees and Commercial Charges effective from the 1st of July 2020. 3, resolve that in relation to those cost recovery fees to which Section 97 of the Local Government Act 2009 applies. 1, the applicant is the person liable to pay these fees, and 2, the fee must be paid at or before the time the application is lodged. 4, delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the power to amend commercial charges to which Section 2623C of the Local Government Act 2009 applies. 5, further review general cost recovery fees and commercial charges as part of the budget deliberations for 2020-21.
I have a second. Councillor Guthrie. The mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Anyone for or against the motion want to speak for or against? I'll put it to the vote and all those in favour? 7-0. On L2, development application of limited. Oh, yeah, go.
Councillors, I just thought there's another point here in that we resolved earlier about the fees and charges for the June Talent Park, and that was to be an update to the 1920 fees and charges, but we probably do need to cover that for 2021 just to hold this over as well. Yeah.
Oh, you want to do that in the
I just thought it would make sense to just confirm. Sorry, earlier in the meeting, the government, we had.
No, C10 is what you're referring to, CEO.
page 87.
So we
The one that
go
took
back
me right.
to amend a motion?
No, you imagine the CEO suggested to the deputy mayor that we're, in the motion we've just, in the report that we've just adopted, L1, you're adding an addition.
Oh, okay, you want to add L1?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
L.
Yes.
No,
Yes, yeah,
It's L1.
No,
it's finished, we've got
just
to
wait,
go
they clarify.
we've got to go back to the
Then you fix that.
Just remove that seat.
you want to amend this.
No, just a separate resolution.
Oh, separate resolution, okay. Resolution.
What is it?
C10.
We just,
Oh,
no, just as a separate proposed motion, how they've been matched.
So, CEO, through you, Chair. L1, no, are you still on L1?
It will be still L1, it's just.
L1.
Well, therefore, Council Evans declared a conflict in L1.
Yeah, it was a bit confusing there.
Councillor Taylor come back?
No.
No, because it's affecting the fee and charges, so they both be out.
Right.
Got that? Okay.
So Councillor just proposing that because C10 had amended the 2019 fees and charges register for those fees, once 30 June comes into play, then there will be a grey area as to what applies. So without wanting to confuse L1, that they're the fees that apply from 1st of July. So if we can just have something to the effect of to remove any doubt, the resolution from the former C10 will continue to apply.
So I'm just you're going to make up a new.
From 1st of July 2020.
Okay.
Whilst needed.
You've got to read these out again.
No, we've already moved
Okay.
that, so that's fine.
We've got to adopt that.
Can we just put that the resolution from C10 will continue to apply from 1st July 2020?
Yeah,
Can we
yeah,
just-
that's right.
Can we just put that, the resolution from C10
Yes.
will continue to apply, rather than, yeah. To apply from 1st July 2020 whilst,
Is it during the temporary period of operation?
yeah, I think.
It will be, yeah.
Or until new management arrangements are finalised.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Until new management.
Arrangements are finalised.
Councillor Ladbrook walked out and left the meeting at 4:21.
Are we moving this as a separate motion?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, I'm happy to move.
I'll sit.
Does it need a heading, Madam CEO?
It will come immediately after L1.
Okay.
Councillor Hancock, you're moving.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that resolution from C10 will continue to apply from 1st July 2020 until management arrangements are finalised.
I'll second that. Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Anyone want to speak for or against? I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? 5-0.
And
Just
numbers
correct
adopted.
me.
So councillors, it probably it's worth noting in the minutes also that Councillor Taylor
Had declared it.
had identified a potential conflict, and that's why she's left the room until that moment.
Be happy to.
Everyone's happy with that? Okay, thank you. So we're on to L2, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there right to go back in?
Oh,
They come. Rob Kemswell.
no, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. No. Okay, L2. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the application for a material change of use indoor sport and recreation gymnasium located at 35 Hawthorne Street, Roma, being Lot 2 of RP 41286 and Lot 2 of R94533 be approved subject to the following conditions from A through until K.
See, that I should read there.
No, because they're in open.
Where?
Nothing. Do we have a second, please? Councillor Ladbrook. Does the mover want to speak to the motion?
Just to say, Acting Chair, that I think this is a really positive move on behalf of the applicants, given the climate that the last 6 months have been for this type of business, and if the posts that I've seen on social media or anything to go by the regular users of this type of facility will be pretty happy with what's going to happen there. So congratulations to the applicants involved.
Yes, probably not relevant to this week, just opened one in Toowoomba.
Saw that.
Has anyone else got any questions for or against, anything for the Director? Any questions for the Director? Everyone happy? Okay, well, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. L3. Australian Government Bridges Renewal Program Round 5. Replace the existing timber bridge on Muggins Lane, Yulba. Do we have a mover, please? Councillor Burke.
I move the council authorise the chief executive officer or delegate to provide a letter to the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development and Communications confirming council's agreement to match the Australian government funding as required under section 3.3 of round 5 of the Bridges Renewal Program guidelines for the application to replace the existing timber bridge on Muggins Lane, Yulbar. Number 2, to sign any further agreements with the Australian Government in relation to the application to replace the existing timber bridge on Muggins Lane, Yulbar as required.
I have a second, please. Councillor Ladbrokes. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, but that's...
I might just ask, for the benefit of the new councillors, Cameron might give a quick rundown if anyone's got a question from those who want to know anything about it.
Councillors, Murray Lane is a bridge just outside Yulbar. It was closed last year due to the condition of it. There is an alternative, but the local community has indicated a fair interest in trying to get that road reopened, as it does provide an access into town and direct link to Judge Lagoon. So councils applied under the Timber Bridge Renewal Program. Have received correspondence from the Australian Government saying that they're assessing our application, and I've just sought to confirm the commitment if we were to be successful.
Any further questions? Or thanks, Cameron. The outcome for the local, we'll get it up over the line. Okay, then I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Thanks, Cameron.
LC2. Yeah, it goes. Sorry, what were they? Yeah, that will have to happen after.
13.6.
Oh, that was that frame of words, Councillor Guthrie. Did you come up with the frame of words for the?
No, we were waiting for one of the council people to frame that up for us, but other than that, I'm happy to.
What is it, 13 point?
That's 13.6.
Noosa. Page, sorry, 196.
Okay, Noosa Film Academy Maranoa School tour. Have we got any questions or? Myself, I moved and Councillor Ladbrokes seconded it back then, but I don't know. And then we later on suppose.
Could we maybe suggest that as a first step, consultation occur with the schools as to their level of interest, or was the intention for that organisation to consult with the schools?
Well, I had 3 questions that I shared, and I'm happy to have them be drafted as part of the maybe one was that further consultation be undertaken with schools to enable them to reassess their priorities in the light of COVID-19 or something like that.
What's your view, Councillor Guthrie, as to who should do that consultation?
I just raised, Director Rob just said, Ed has sent through an alternative.
Well, Ed drafted it up there a while ago, he walked back in, so I forgot to send it, so he just walked back in, so I had to send it, but it's probably really not in line with Councillor Guthrie there. It was probably the opposite to what the recommendation was, if you want to go that way, so, but it might be a starting point for the resolution. But
I just truly believe when you look at the people who are listed as contact people who are no longer in the schools, I do think there needs to be further consultation with them, and also to consider whether or not they've got different priorities after having had the last term be pretty irregular as a result of COVID-19. Maybe that they would like to continue, but it may also be that they would like to reassess.
Did you read out that first bit that you said, Councillor Guthrie, because that was perfect.
I've got an alternative resolution that I can go to.
Sorry, Councillor O'Neill.
I have an alternative resolution if you want to.
Well, how about you share? Because I'm happy to go with whatever's reasonable.
Director Rob's just sent through Ed's too.
Well, it's going to be very close. So, can I just, Mr. Deputy Mayor, for this to happen, the process would be for you as the mover and the seconder to withdraw your motion, unless you want to test it.
Mr Mayor, I'll withdraw my motion. Councillor Adler, as the second, do you agree to that? Yes. Okay.
So if you're looking for an alternative resolution, I'll move the council declines the proposal to fund the Noosa Film Academy project and suggest to the Noosa Film Academy to approach the Maranoa schools for sponsorship.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to the motion? Anyone want to speak for or against the motion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
Is there anything else there?
What was the next one, please, Kel?
It will be LC2.
LC2.
Yeah, if you're not doing
So agenda 13.1, yeah. Was laid on the table.
It's laid on the table until after this.
Theo, can we just adjourn the moment and the meeting for a few minutes, please? Theo.
LC2, Big Rig and Tree Walk Project Update. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council 1 authorise the CEO to submit a project variation request and sign any associated documentation that seeks to maintain the current Building Our Region's funding contribution and remove the car park construction scope from the Building Our Region's funding agreement. 2, advocate for support of Council's variation request by formally writing to the Minister for State Development, Tourism and Innovation, outlining a statement of reasons for such request. 3, note the update of the debt borrowing policy 2019-20, including A, removing the proposed internal loan of $1,233,869 from the gravel pits reserves, and B, amending the total 2019-20 QTC borrowings for the Big Rig project to a single amount project of $2,824,987. 4, authorise the CEO to draw down $2,824,987, noting that only part of the approved borrowing amount is now required. 5, award the contract, subject to written confirmation from the funding bodies in respects to point 1 and 2 of the resolution, to J. Hutchinson Proprietary Limited for the construction of the Big Rig Observation Tower and Tree Walk. A, noting the updated scope and negotiated value of $4,674,150 inclusive of GST. And B, subject to execution of the contract on terms acceptable to the CEO. 6, continue to work with the contractor, post-contract award, with the view of maximising use of local contractors and suppliers where possible. 7, formally update the Big Rig Action Group regarding the Big Rig Observation Tower and Tree Walk project. 8, adopt the revised budget 2019-20 budget in accordance with section 169 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, incorporating the following documents as presented at the meeting, reflecting the revised figures of the Big Rig Observation Tower and Tree Walk project, and removing the estimates pertaining to the unsuccessful Building Better Regions application for the subsequent stage. Updated budget financial statements and following 2 years. Updated long-term forecast. Revised revenue statement. Revised total value of rates and charges. Revised revenue policy. Revised sustainability ratios. Revised borrowing policy.
We'll just remove that extra budget in point 8, first line.
Yes, I'm happy with that. As moved.
Yeah, we've got a second, Councillor Hancock. Any opposition to the motion? I'll speak in opposition. Does the Mayor wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. I think if supported today, this will be a milestone achievement for not only this term of council, but the previous term of council on having a vision for the community in investing in a long-term asset, an asset that was thought upon and enacted some nearly 20 years ago by a visionary Roma Town Council, It's now upon us to ensure that we continue to value add to that asset, that we create economic stimulus to our community, that we get as much as we can where possible, local contractors involved in delivering the aspects of the project. And even more so now, we need to see this project come to fruition because of the impact of COVID-19 on our community. It is very clear that the impact of COVID-19 has hit one particular or two sectors of our community the hardest. That's the hospitality and the hoteliers of our community. We need to boost the tourism economic opportunities that are before us, and the Big Rig project will do just that. If we can get more people staying in our towns as quickly as possible, that ensures a future for our hotels and hospitality sectors in the short term. But in the long term, it's an added advantage to attract people into our community. What we want is them to stay one extra night, whether that's in Roma or Mitchell or Injune or Surat or Wallumbilla or Yulbar, it doesn't matter. But if we can get them to stay an extra night in our community, that economic flow-on effect will be felt across the entire region. So I've supported this project since day one, and I'm so very pleased to see we've got to the point where we've got state government support, not just by having one funding application successful. There is now 2 funding applications successful in the grants that we've applied for, and I think that is a true indication that we've got a state government that's willing to support projects that are borne by their local governments across the state, and I urge all councillors today to support this. If you support economic development, if you support ensuring that we've got businesses, particularly that in and around the tourism sector, if you want them to be here long term, then I urge you to vote in favour of this resolution this evening.
I'll speak against the motion. Certainly like to thank the state government for the opportunity for funding. I'm concerned through community feedback of the community that wants to see money spent, our ratepayers' money spent in other areas. Certainly got a big issue with roads, and I certainly believe that, that we've got other challenges that we need to deal with as a council. Very supportive of the improving the Big Rig, and have been a big proponent of the Peter Keegan Museum and seeing that as a way to move forward, telling the stories of our region through education and history. And also I'm concerned about overshadowing our 100-year infrastructure by putting it in a situation which would take away from our Big Rig, and because of that and community feedback, I cannot support the motion tonight. Would anyone like to speak for the motion? Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Would anyone like to speak before we go to the vote? Does the mover wish to sum up?
Yes, I do. I want to start by thanking former Councillor Reid Price and former Councillor Joy Denton and former Councillor Putty Chandler for the advocacy that they've played in turning councils, a number of councils since amalgamation's attention to the Big Rig. It is a premier tourism asset in our region. And as I said only a few moments ago, that there was a visionary council in the late 90s and early 2000s that saw the need to invest in the history of oil and gas that we are known for in our particular part of Queensland. The reality is we're 20 years down the track since that initial investment. And I've had many community members that have served on some of the councils that I've just mentioned since amalgamation, but also in the Roma Town Council days, that have told me that we either need to invest in it and to ensure that we are getting the tourists into our community via assets like the big rig, or shut it down. And I'm not in favour of shutting it down. I think we've got a lot to be proud of in terms of the big rig, and I think this will value add tremendously to attracting the tourists to stay here just one extra night. Now, let's be realistic. We're not going to compete with the dinosaurs at Winton. It's going to be a hard pitch to compete with the Stockman's Hall of Fame in Longreach. But what we can do is get them on the way to those large-scale tourism assets in the far west. If we can get them stopping a night in a caravan park, if we can get them stopping in our motels, the value is endless to our community. And I think we owe it to the tourism businesses that are directly involved in tourism but indirectly as well. We owe it to them to value add to their own outlook in terms of businesses by stimulating the economy. And not only do we believe that, many of us that sitting around this table, the state government believes it as well. They've done their due diligence to the tune of nearly $2.8 million, round figures. And if they're willing to invest, then I think we should as well. And I'm really excited by the fact that it's a very close to 50-50 partnership with the state government. In fact, the rate base, the Maranoa region will come out in front. And I think if we give this the green light tonight, it is an appropriate and wonderful step forward in ensuring there is a future in terms of tourism in our region. And I'll close by thanking Mr Mayor, the staff that have worked tirelessly, some over the last 12 years, in developing, updating, working with the community on a master plan for the big rig. And I want to thank the Big Rig Action Group for the work that they've done over the last 18 months, 2 years, and working with Council as a key stakeholder in all the things that we've been looking at doing at the Big Rig, but in particular this project that's before us today. So I again urge councillors, if you want to back the local economy, if you want to back the future of the businesses that are associated with the tourism sector, then support this resolution that's before you this evening.
Okay, if no one else wishes to speak, we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 7-2 if I can call for a division. Okay, what's the next item, please? 13.1.
Page 131.
Page 100. Right, thank you.
In the first one? The first one, Mr Mayor. Right back to the beginning of the day.
Item 13.1, Growing Tourism Infrastructure GTI Fund 2020-2021.
Mr Mayor, I'm just wondering if the officers have something they'd like to share.
Just think maybe we could probably just put something in the Peter King Museum. I'd completely line the way through it and the time frame is fairly short. Considering the Peter King project obviously was budgeted at an amount at the minimum this is 500 to 5 in the funding bucket. It doesn't actually get that either, but we thought a bit of work, maybe we can actually probably present on that. We did bring the department due at 5 o'clock this afternoon. They won't extend the application to tomorrow. They'll give us an extension till midnight tonight.
till the application in, to midnight tonight.
You got to wait here to do the final resolution at midnight, okay?
Yeah, if that's why you want to go, Cameron, I probably put some time for an application for that, before it closes tonight. Along with maybe the Peter Keegan one, as I said, we're open to, like I mentioned, the prices we had for it, but it probably doesn't align with that, but maybe we can do that. Just while you're out of the room, for Mr Mayor, this is a shovel-ready project, and we do have to be able to commence it in 3 months of the approval, so it will be pretty tight, but we can try and just up there.
I think it's important note to say there it's got to commence within 2 to 3 months of the approval, so there's obviously still quite an assessment period to go before approval.
So election as well, and there that might, with election there, the internal might sort of push it back a bit.
I think it's worth hearing.
How does that, sorry, through you, Mr Mayor, if now this other one's approved, like, there'd be a fair bit of disruption to the, either way, wouldn't it? Like, this would be a total one if it went through.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to move that council register the Peter Keegan project for growing tourism infrastructure funding in 2021. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does the mover wish to speak? Certainly do. I do believe that the stories we've got in this region are unbelievable. Even the story about how the Roma district got into tourism, it happened because we were drilling for water and they found gas and there was a huge fire on Hospital Hill, and then the trains came from everywhere to see the big fire, and that's how we got into tourism. So I certainly think Peter Keegan project could be a fantastic thing if we can get off the ground. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Guthrie.
Can I just commend the staff of the council who are willing always to get behind and to give of their time tirelessly to advocate on behalf of all of us. I just really think it's outstanding effort, and I really do appreciate your willingness to step up and do what you can, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Yes, thank you. Very good. Okay, no one else has wished to speak. We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Any?
See you in 3 days.
We can order the pizza. You want me to order the pizza?
Is there any further business, councillors? Righto, I'll close the meeting at 6:11 PM. Thank you for your attendance.